Endless online searches, trekking from dealer to dealer. But here it is, the Volvo XC90. A luxury SUV that emphasises convenience and comfort. A panoramic roof, advanced air purifier, a head-up display that changes to suit light conditions, an air suspension system that ensures a smooth ride by constantly adjusting the ride height and shock absorbers. Now at special run-out pricing from $99,990 plus on-roads. Visit Volvo Cars and discover why the Volvo XC90 is the vehicle for right now.
You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Well, as mentioned, and in case you missed it, a sorry end to a dismal campaign for England in cricket's Champions Trophy. Thumped by 7 wickets by South Africa in Karachi. They were already out of the tournament after losing their opening 2 matches. England all out for 179 in the 39th over. The Proteas needed just 29 overs and 1 ball to complete their successful run chase. It was also England's 7th consecutive one-day international defeat. New Zealand, meantime, doing a lot better. They play their final group game against India overnight tonight, having already qualified for the semis with wins over Bangladesh and host Pakistan.
That's it. It's all over. Henry does the job, and New Zealand win this match convincingly by 60 runs. It's been a polished performance.
Former Black Caps coach and one of the more astute cricket analysts going around, Mike Hesson, is with us, having watched, I reckon, pretty much every ball of the tournament, judging from your social media and the stuff I've seen from you, Mike. Thanks for joining us. What have you made of New Zealand's performances so far in their opening wins over Pakistan and Bangladesh?
I thought very clinical, really. Done as much as they needed to do. I thought against Pakistan, which was always going to be a really tough game, obviously against the home nation, New Zealand were exceptional. And what I like, I guess, is that there are so many different players that have stood up at different times. So obviously Rutchin missed the first part, turns up and bangs out one of the best hundreds you'll see. And then prior to that, Tom Latham was obviously under the pump, heading into the tournament, and then just showed, how good he is. And Will Young, under pressure, losing 2 early wickets, losing Kane and Devon, and then Will Young, who probably wasn't even going to be playing that game, steps up as well. So, the spinners have showed that they are as good as any other team around as well. So, Michael Bracewell stood up along with Mitchell Satner when required. So, just a really nice performance, and I think they're ticking along well.
Yeah, I want to drill down into a couple of points you've made there. Let's start in the top 4. Bit of a logjam there, Hess, because if we assume Williamson and Ravindra are 2 of the top 4, when Daryl Mitchell comes back, who misses out? Young, Conway, Mitchell? What's the makeup of the top 4?
Yeah, look, I mean, Conway's likely to miss out, but it's a shame because he actually has started to find some touch. And, the Tri-Series, he looked one of their best players. And I think he would have played ahead of Will Young in that opening match, I think, if Rutchin would have played. But, that the quality of Will Young's 100 just, I guess, reaffirmed to the side that you can't leave him out. He's been exceptional the last 18 months. So it's a shame because Conway's actually played a lot of cricket when he hasn't been in great touch, and everyone's sort of been calling for his head. And now he's actually playing beautifully, and he's probably going to miss out. So I think Mitchell just slots back into 4 where he was before he got sick.
Rachin Ravindra, you mentioned him before, the 100 against Bangladesh, 112 off 105 balls, without really even looking like he was trying. What do you think Rachin Ravindra's ceiling might be?
Look, it's early, isn't it? But the technique that he has is so repeatable. And, I mean, he's built that up over, obviously, a long period of time. He's the epitome of the 10,000 hours, I guess, trying to, perfect things. And his technique in all conditions around the world will stand up. It's just, whether he can keep, I guess, that drive to be successful every day. And that he seems to have found the tempo that he needs to bat at in international cricket. And he spent a few years in domestic cricket trying to find it. Had the odd game, New Zealand A, and then sort of went back again. Never quite clicked. And then once it clicked, that World Cup just over a year ago in India, he just hasn't looked back, and across all formats. So there's no reason, obviously, if he can continue doing what he's doing, that he can't be right up there in the top echelon of our batsmen.
Michael Bracewell, 1 for 38 and 4 for 26 in his 2 10-over spells. What is he doing with the ball that is so effective?
Well, he's always bringing the stumps into play. So even though he's bowling to right-handers, he's not afraid of throwing the ball outside off, spinning back to the stumps. So, often they say in white ball cricket, your off spinner can't bowl to the right-hander. But he's got his ability and he's got a lot of overspin on the ball. So he's got huge fingers. So he gets huge amount of revs on the ball, which get it to dip. So even if you are looking to take him downtown, he gets that overspin. So you end up hitting the top of the bat. You don't hit exactly where you want. So it either hits the inside half or the top corner. So he's just, he's just a really subtle, skillful bowler. And he's got quite a bit of bravery, in terms of being able to throw the ball up and take the pace out of it. Very similar to Mitch Santner.
Over half of the overs bowled across the entire tournament have been bowled by spinners. But what are the most effective seam bowlers doing really well at this tournament, Hes?
Well, they take wickets early because they're swinging the new ball. And, they have to pitch it up. But pitching it up in Pakistan is probably 2 metres shorter than it is in New Zealand because the low skiddy bounce. So they're pitching it up. They're finding a length that still brings in the top of the stumps, and therefore allowing the ball to swing, but also not that long half volley where you can lean into it easily. So they're doing that, and then at the back end when everyone else is going around the park, they're actually hitting the corners. So they're not going at the stumps. They're either trying to hit the inside heel, they're trying to bowl that slow ball bouncer, or that bouncer sort of just over your left eye, or they're hitting the wide line. They're not bowling down Main Street, which is sort of down that, off stump to fifth stump, which is pretty much where the batters are trying to line it up at that time.
Are you starting to see Mitchell Santner's captaincy style start to develop in 50-over cricket?
Yeah, I think we are. I think he's certainly not afraid of using spin, and I suppose that's obviously a byproduct of what he does, but he also, he's seeing a quick matchup and he's instinctively making the change. You see Phillips come in when they had two left-handers, when they're playing Bangladesh, straight away you bring him in. It might only be for 2 overs, but that just gives him a lot of flexibility. I think we're going to see a little bit more of his style with the next selection. Because at the moment our seamers are very front end loaded. So all three of our seamers, Henry, O'Rourke, and Jamieson are very much new ball bowlers, and they're very good in the first 15 overs of a match. But neither of them, you would say, are specialists at the back end. So it's just whether New Zealand are going to be happy going that way and trying to take wickets early and then squeeze with spin, or whether they might look at someone like a Duffy who can probably more control the middle and the end a little bit better than Jamieson, for example. So that'll be the style they want to go. They want to go, do we want to attack with Jamieson, or we want to have a bit more control with someone like Duffy?
You tweeted last night, if someone says the New Zealand v India match at the Champions Trophy is a dead rubber, they clearly don't understand the psyche of top athletes today. How important is a good performance for New Zealand tonight?
Well, New Zealand won 5 one-days in a row. Now that gives you confidence. That gives you real belief heading into the playoff side of things. So the last thing you want to do is take the foot off the gas. There'll be no one in that lineup that's saying, "Hey, give me a rest." I can guarantee you that. They'll be wanting to play against India in Dubai. They'll be wanting to challenge themselves against the best, and they'll be wanting to stand out. And quite rightfully, they'll be wanting to win. And that'll obviously dictate who they play in the semis. But the most important thing is that New Zealand win and they gain confidence heading into the playoffs.
All right, and if they do win, they'll face Australia. If they were to lose tonight, they'll take on South Africa. Do you think, Hess, that New Zealand match up better against one or the other of those two nations?
I think New Zealand match up better against Australia at the moment, just with the Australian squad that they have. That bowling lineup is very inexperienced, bar Adam Zampa. We saw Spencer Johnson the other day in conditions that, were very favourable. They should have had Afghanistan 4 for 20 on that sort of surface. If Spencer Johnson was able to land the ball in the same spot, more than twice. So if they had a Josh Hazlewood or a Mitch or a Cummins, or even a Stark, that game would have been over before it started. So I think, the Aussie batting lineup is still dangerous, but they don't have that middle order power that they had previously either, with your Stoinis and Mitch Marsh and co. So there's definitely some holes in that Australian side. Matt Short's just got out injured as well. So they are reeling a bit. That's another reason why New Zealand have to make sure they put the foot down against India today.
Pretty brutal hours for cricket fans on this side of the world. Here's 10 o'clock starts New Zealand time. Are you getting any sleep?
Not a lot. I mean, I generally log in about 8:30 for the pre-shows over there and finish about 7 in the morning. So it's I didn't stay the whole night last night, thankfully. I got a bit of sleep, but tonight will be a big night for sure.
Fantastic. Well, appreciate you taking the time to chat to us, Hess. Always appreciate your expertise.
Pleasure. Thanks, Piney.
No, thank you, Mike. Mike Hesson there, former Black Caps coach and highly sought after cricket analyst. So, 10 o'clock tonight, that game is underway. New Zealand up against India in Dubai. As I've said a couple of times, doesn't matter if New Zealand lose the game, they will still go through to the semi-finals. If they were to lose, they'll take on South Africa. If they win the game, they will face Australia. That's the way that the draw is at the moment. And that game, regardless of whether they finish top or second, is on Wednesday night. Wednesday night at 10 o'clock. Doesn't matter which of the results happens tonight. The semi-final involving New Zealand Wednesday night against either South Africa or Australia from 10 o'clock.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.
For a few years in the 1970s, the Mr. Asia syndicate made millions.
Heroin creates its own market. It acts like a form of plague.
Until jealousy, betrayal, and murder brought it all crashing down.
Clark would have threatened him. Go and kill him. If you don't, I'm going to kill you and your wife and your son.
This is Mr. Asia, a forgotten history. Listen to episode 4 now on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcast.